Welcome to the Hormone Hub, your go-to source for the conversations every woman in her 40s and 50s needs to have. I'm your host, Karlie McKeand, your nutritionist helping you navigate your way through perimenopause, menopause and beyond so you can say goodbye to the endless fatigue, unexplained weight gain, hot flushes, PMS, mood changes and more that come on this hormonal roller coaster. If you missed the memo or think this is only for women of a certain age, ladies, it's time to think again. Now sit back, relax and enjoy the show. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss any of my latest episodes, which are released every week. Share it with your friends, your sweaty sisters. The more we talk, the more we help each other. Hello and welcome back to the Hormone Hub. Today I'm really excited to be joined by Karlie McKeand, who is a naturopath. And Karlie and I are going to talk today about, why we self-sabotage, what some of our, sort of unconscious or subconscious blocks are that can stop us from reaching our goals, and also, what we can do about it. So Karlie has some pretty cool techniques up her sleeve, which we'll get to in a second. So welcome, Karlie. It's great to have you.
Oh, thank you so much, Kylie, for having me. Can't wait to chat today.
Yeah. So, Karlie, we all know what healthy eating looks like. We all know what we should, be doing. We all know we should drink more water. We should, stay away from sugar, not drink so much wine, go to bed earlier, all of the things, exercise, but we don't do it. So why is that?
Well, sometimes we have these goals to do better and look after ourselves. And a lot of the time we really want to do those things, but we sabotage ourselves and we even sabotage these goals because sometimes there's these underlying emotions or underlying stress patterns that get us off track with the things that we want to do. And this can be sometimes due to certain belief systems. It can be sometimes things in our past that the brain creates this particular pattern and it contributes to our behaviours. And sometimes that can really help us and save us in certain situations. But then other times it creates that self-sabotaging pattern. And the result is that sometimes we don't do the things that we really want to do.
Yeah, right. And how does stress play a role in this?
So when the body is stressed, this is where we actually influence our unconscious nervous system. And this is where the self-sabotaging behaviors are actually from. So that's what causes these self-sabotaging behaviors. So sometimes that could be where someone's been really busy or really stressed and fell into that sort of burnout part, or they're just really tired. And then when the idea comes with cleaning up the diet, exercising more, and doing a few extra things, the brain might think that that's extra jobs that someone has to do, and the body wants to self-sabotage that because that feeling of being burnt out or stressed in the past actually actually triggers a response. So the body doesn't want to do that, even though it can be really helpful.
Yeah, that's right. So we know we're going to feel better if we eat well, or we know we're going to feel better if we, exercise, and then we just don't.
We just don't do those things.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So then when we're making recommendations or we have these particular goals, it's always beneficial to actually assess the body to see if that particular goal is the body feels okay with that it's not causing a stress response or a cortisol response, because that's a clue that we might self-sabotage ourselves.
Yeah.
Or sometimes the things that we're doing or these patterns or habits can be part of the self-soothing mechanism.
Yes.
Right? So the body actually associates that with being a benefit, that it's helping, even though we know consciously that it's not, that we're not really helping. So by taking those things away, even though consciously we know that we need to do that and it's not serving us and it is affecting our health, when you take those things away and the body has created that pattern of being that's actually self-soothing, either stress or a busy life or you name it, when you take those things away, this is why we want to self-sabotage, because the brain thinks that that is actually beneficial to us.
Yeah, definitely. And I hear from women all the time, and they're rewarding themselves. So it might be, with a glass of wine, or I've had a busy day, so I therefore need some, chocolate, or I need this, or I need that. And yeah, even though it kind of goes against all of their good intentions and what they set out to do, their reward that they're giving themselves is actually, detrimental to where they want to head as well. So
and our patterns and our beliefs and how we think about ourselves and our behaviors a lot of the time are created a long, long time ago. So even in childhood, right? So then we look at our children, they are rewarded with food. They're usually rewarded with junk food. They're usually rewarded with chocolate, lollies. So then we create these patterns of that if I do a good thing, or if I'm giving myself a reward, we want those types of things. And in actual fact, even as children, right, it doesn't make us feel better. It doesn't feel as good.
You fell over and hurt yourself. Oh, darling, here's a lolly. You'll be okay.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So these behaviors are just so ingrained at such a young age. Then when we're obviously adults, it might be the wine, it might be the chocolate, it might be, and it's still the same pattern. It's still that we're rewarding ourselves, or other people are rewarding us with certain foods or drinks. And that's why it's so hard to actually shift these habits or these food choices. It's so much deeper than just making a plan and just recommending or wanting to take them out of your diet. It's so much deeper than that.
Yeah, 100%. Because I see, ladies all the time who, they have a goal, they know what they want to do, and then, they just, it's almost like they can't help themselves, that emotional eating. Because I guess if you go right back, as babies, when we cried, our mothers fed us. Mm-hmm. So that emotional attachment to food goes, right the way back to when we were babies.
Well, it is that primitive part of the brain. It's survival, right? But then we get confused of being children, toddlers, adolescents and adults of those foods for our survival is not just like clean, healthy food that's really beneficial to us. It's actually usually all the wrong things. And so the brain creates these the patterns of if something is safe or if something is dangerous. And so pretty much it goes into one or two of those pathways. And if the junk food or the sugars or the chocolates have been in part of that, the beneficial and the safe, then why would the body want to give that up?
Yeah, definitely.
Like you can consciously know, and you can consciously know that those foods aren't good for you, but from an unconscious perspective, where the unconscious pretty much drives the ship, if it thinks that these junk foods or these foods or drinks are the safe option and it doesn't want to take them away, that's survival.
Yes.
So there's so much more that we have to do when we are making choices and changes. We have to be addressing the underlying reasons, the underlying beliefs, the underlying patterns or behaviors, or otherwise we will self-sabotage ourselves, because it's this unconscious preference for these foods because that is the safe option, that is the survival. And anything other than that is dangerous. It triggers that fear response, and then we self-sabotage ourselves. And then that spirals us around that a lot of sort of self-worth stuff, right, is that we sabotage ourselves. And even though the brain's doing that because there is an underlying reason for that, but then if we're not achieving the things that we want to do, then that triggers in the not good enough, not worthy. I can't stick to something. I'm failing. I'm going to be judged. And then that triggers more emotional stuff, because usually that's already a belief system in a lot of women that I see anyway. Then the emotional eating gets triggered from that, right? So then it's on two different ways that we are sabotaging ourselves, and this is where we can get ourselves into a really big rut.
Yeah. That's so true. And it's so true, when you talk to women who, and I talk to a lot of women who, they've been in that diet cycle forever. They've tried everything and they've never been able to make anything stick. So yeah, there's obviously that conditioning there that goes back, a long time. So there's a few things, that we can sort of do there. And, with a lot of my clients, I talk about, what else can we do to, satisfy that? Because at the end of the day, we're all creatures of comfort and we want to make ourselves feel good. So I talk all the time about, having a nice glass instead of putting wine in it, putting some raspberries or some strawberries and some, to make it look pretty and make it look nice. But you work a little bit differently with your clients. So, yes. And you have a specific technique that you use. And, for full transparency, I have also been one of Karlie's clients for a couple of years now, with using this specific technique. So, Karlie, would you like to sort of tell us a little bit about NER? This Hormone Hub episode is sponsored by our free Hormone Help Call. On the call, we'll give you some clarity around what's causing your symptoms and the 3 simple steps you can start using straight away. And if you're ready to take the next step and find out how we can help you, we can talk about that too. So if you're constantly feeling tired, struggling with weight gain, PMS, mood swings, bloating, not sleeping at night, cravings, anxiety, all the things, we're ready to help. If you're ready to ditch those sugar cravings, regain your energy and shift that stubborn weight, then let us help you balance your hormones, reset your metabolism and get your confidence back so you can live the life you're meant to. The link with the details to our Hormone Help Call is in our show notes or over at karliepinwell.com.
So what I actually do to assess in my practice, and obviously like you've just said, Karlie, I've been working with you for a long time, and because the reason for that is that we're addressing the root issues of what's going on. So I like to assess the body to see if emotions or stress patterns are driving our behaviors or our belief systems or our symptoms in our body. But particularly the reason why we do the things that we do, because if we can actually address the why we do those things, we're going to make we're actually addressing the issue so we can stop that behavior or we can make a big change, or you can actually achieve your goals a lot faster because you're not battling with yourself. We're not relying on willpower to get us there. We're just addressing the issues or the behaviors or the patterns that actually drive that behavior in the first place. And a lot of the time, this can be things that have been triggered from a long time ago, and that particular pattern just continues. And like I said before, it can also be a belief of not feeling good enough or not feeling important or feeling judged. Those belief systems can affect our behaviors and why we do the things we do. So with NER, so Naturopathic Emotional Release, it is a way of assessing the body to see if that is the driver. And so it's done through kinesiology, a bit of kinesiology, through some meridian points like in Chinese medicine. And then we process through that way too. So there's a specific process, and it's just so effective and so amazing because we actually really get to the root of what's going on and process that so we can really speed up results. And so like you said before about eating and drinking, when we make those recommendations because or somebody wants to make that as part of their goals to improve their health, we want to make sure that the body is ready for that we can actually integrate and process anything that might drive that behavior, or like we said with the brain, if that's feeling safe to be drinking the bottle of wine each night, we want to know why that's happening, where that come from, and process that so the body knows that isn't a safe thing, that we don't feel that that's beneficial, that we want to create that neutral ground so that we can choose what we want to do rather than our nervous system or our unconscious that drives those behaviors.
Yeah, 100%. And the beauty of this, so when Karlie and I first met a couple of years ago, I was learning this technique from Karlie, to use with my clients. And Karlie just has this amazing skill because we were doing it physically in person. And then Karlie has, been able to sort of take that online. So for the last 2 years, she and I have worked 100% online together. And yeah, like I said, it was something that we started working on together for, from a business perspective, and what was sort of blocking me in my business, how I could grow, all of that sort of thing. So it was a whole new sort of field for me, but definitely I think, it helped me from a business perspective sort of open up, I guess, the limitations that I put on myself for how, many women I could work with, whether or not I could, bring on a team to work with me. I didn't have to do it all myself, and then every time we sort of get to this new level in business, Karlie and I work together to sort of take out those blocks so I've got that capacity to grow to the next level. So it can really apply to sort of any area of life. So it doesn't have to be weight loss. It doesn't have to be food or alcohol or drinking. It can be whatever's holding you back, and anywhere where you might not be feeling worthy of what you're doing. All right. So Karlie, talk us through, and I know it is a visual thing, I guess anyhow, but can you talk us through, like what sort of testing you do, and how do you get to that cause of what's going on?
So I'm assessing the subconscious through muscle testing. So muscle testing is a way of tapping into that autonomic part of the nervous system where it knows everything about you. It beats your heart, it digests your foods, it literally knows everything about you. So when we're muscle testing, whether that's in person, and as you mentioned, I do this online, and a lot of kinesiologists are able to muscle test online. We can assess to see if your body is creating a cortisol stress response, whether this is with testing a particular organ to see if it's functioning, or if there's any sort of stress that might be driving an issue with that particular organ or system. I can test to see behaviours. So if it's about assessing why we do the things that we do, whether that's our food choices, our drink choices, why we are overachievers, perfectionists, why we can't commit to ourselves, why we go really well with something for a few weeks and then we get off track because it all seems too hard. All these things that we can be assessing to see if there's a stress response driving this. And that, again, is through this muscle testing. So we're testing to see if the body is causing a stress response. And if there is a stress response, this is where we're testing. All right, we want to know why, where this comes from, and what type of emotion it is, so that we have insight to what's driving that. And then we get to process it. So then when we've processed it, essentially that particular stressor is integrated from the system. So you shouldn't find that things keep repeating. So, and I've had really great success in all different areas, like you mentioned, but particularly with like giving up certain things or processing patterns that hold us back, why we want to dim our light, why we don't want to push forward, why we don't look after ourselves as well as we know that we should, because sometimes there is a pattern, sometimes there is a behavior, and sometimes there's a belief system that we are not important, or we are not good enough, or we don't want to be seen, or we don't want to be heard. And again, all these belief systems can be created from such a long time ago. And these belief systems really, they don't serve us when we go through life. They actually hinder us. They hold us back. We're not truly our best selves, or we're not showing up as our best selves, or sometimes we're not even treating ourselves with kindness and compassion and love. We're actually completely sabotaging everything that's good for us. And so by making recommendations and putting things in place and having conversations about what we should be doing or what's beneficial, sometimes it's not enough when there are these belief systems in place, or there's these patterns in the subconscious that's driving all those things. So with NER, we're assessing if that's the issue. Then we want to go and process that whole concept in the stress response in the nervous system, so that we can do things differently, so that we can actually achieve the things that we want, or we actually completely resolve what's going on by actually addressing that root issue of it all.
Yeah. No, absolutely fascinating. And what I'll do is I'll put all of your contact details in our show notes. So if anyone is sort of listening to this, thinking, that's me, I know I've got a block, we can certainly look at, how we can layer, using NER into, and having, booking in sessions with Karlie, just to sort of work through these things, because quite often, when we're stuck in that same pattern, we can have the steps to move us through, but by sort of breaking that cycle, it can sort of take it to the next level 100%.
Yeah, absolutely, Kylie. That's exactly what it is. So having that plan is so important, but then we want to make sure that there's nothing that's going to sabotage, get in the way. And with both of those things together, it's a lot easier road to get to your goals. And again, you're addressing all the issues of what needs to happen, that needs to improve to get you closer to what you want.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. All right, Karlie. Well, thank you so much for coming in today. That is, really exciting. And I think, like I said, we'll put Karlie's information in the show notes. So if you want to find out more about NER or book in a session with Karlie, all of her details will be there. Okay.
Amazing. Thanks so much for having me, Kylie.
Thank you so much, Karlie. Thank you for taking the time to listen today. You can head on over to the show notes at karliepinwell.com/podcast, where you'll find all the links, and I have a little bonus surprise waiting for you. Before we go, it would mean the world to me if you head on over to your favourite podcasts channel, subscribe and leave a review. Make sure to screenshot it, DM it to me so I can thank you personally. Then stay tuned for next week's episode. Can't wait to see you then.